A female lead, Georgia, is left speechless after being bitten by the male lead, Ryder, who is now struggling with guilt and self-reproach. What's more, the people around Georgia have varying reactions to her condition. Some want to help, while others seem to have ulterior motives. In an attempt to make up for his mistake, Ryder tries to uncover the truth, only to find himself entangled in a bigger mystery. So, what's really going on? Chapter 61. Intense sensation flooded my mind in blissful flashes. It was everything Ryder and I had been together. A stole and kiss in the shadows of a movie theater before our world crumbled. The perfect fit of his strong, protective hand in mine as we strolled through a park. Those same hands gripping my thighs with fierce determination. My head pressed back into a pillow, eyes tightly shut, and the wicked, almost predatory grin on his face when he lifted his head from between my legs. I clung to every single moment, embracing the passionate memories. There was a promise of more, so tantalizingly close I could almost taste it. I reached out, desperate to grasp it, but it was violently torn away. Ryder, what have you done? Keiko's voice pierced the air, her small hands looking even tinier against Ryder's broad, muscular shoulders. It seemed impossible that she had managed to pull him off me, given his imposing physique. Ryder's intense gaze remained fixed on me, unwavering. His eyes, dark and passionate, bore into mine with an intensity that made my heart race. I vaguely registered the blood trickling from one corner of his mouth. My blood. It must have been, though I couldn't fathom or understand what had transpired. All I knew was that it had been the most intense experience I'd felt in ages, and I never wanted it to end. The room around us seemed to fade away, leaving only Ryder and me in this moment of raw, primal connection. Keiko, I need you to get your hands off of me. His voice eerily calm despite the aggression simmering beneath the surface. His words were measured, but I could sense the barely contained power in his stance, like a predator ready to strike. Keiko's face, initially a mask of revulsion and shock, quickly morphed into something closer to fear. After a moment's hesitation, her hands dropped from his shoulders, and she straightened her spine, steel in her posture. She backed away but didn't back down, her bravery evident despite her obvious concern. The tension in the room was palpable, a thick, suffocating presence that threatened to overwhelm us all. Ryder turned on her then, his eyes briefly flicking to the set of knives in the kitchen. I remembered those knives, recalling a time when I had looked at them, wishing I could drive them into someone's chest. But I hadn't possessed the courage back then. It was a lack of courage, however, that made Ryder roll up his sleeves instead, his muscles flexing with barely contained rage. Get up, Ajax, he growled, his voice low and threatening. The self-proclaimed king reclined further, keeping his hands on his stomach in a display of arrogant nonchalance. While Keiko grasped the gravity of the situation, Ajax remained blissfully unaware and dismissive. You don't give me orders, Ryder, he sneered. Ryder's eyes narrowed dangerously. You brought my mate here. You took my wolf, drained mate, and brought her to a werewolf haven after I did what I could to keep her away from our kind. So you are going to get up and you are going to walk out your front door. You and I are going to shift. Then I'm going to fucking kill you. Ajax let out a derisive laugh, his arrogance on full display. You cannot kill me. I am the king. By nature, am stronger than you. You have no chance. If I can't kill you, then I will die trying. Besides, you look like you're on death's door anyway. Get up and we can do this outside like men. I don't want your mate to watch you get your throat tripped out. It was all delivered in such a formal, matter-of-fact tone. Ryder, please, you don't understand, Keiko said, reaching out so she could run a soothing hand down Ryder's arm. He leapt back as if she was about to strike him. I don't understand, he snarled. I fucking understand. Keiko, my mate gets wolf-drained because of me, and when I leave to protect her, the people that I thought were my friends decide that she is the perfect candidate to run fucking tests on. It had to be someone. Ryder, Keiko whispered. It didn't have to be her. His hand swept through his dark hair, pulling hard for the briefest second. I have been losing my mind over what I have done to her. I have spent weeks in isolation, hating what I am, hating that I destroyed her, hoping and fucking praying that she somehow gets better. And you had her here the whole time. You've been making her worse. You've been killing her slowly. And I wouldn't have even fucking known if she hadn't gone into heat. We have a responsibility to the werewolf community before we have responsibility to our friends. Ajax stated from his spot on the couch. This is nothing new. And if you're so upset about all of this, I want you to take a step back and think that you, a werewolf, just marked your mate, without her consent, while she still very much has wolf drain. 1 second Ryder looked like he was about Seth's head clean off his shoulders. The next, he was whirling around to stare at me, mouth open, eyes wide, and they focused right on my neck, right where he had bitten. The center of all those emotions, of all the feelings that had finally cracked through. But he didn't know that. He couldn't know what that bite had made me feel. And what was worse, when his face crumpled and he looked like he wanted the world to swallow him up whole. I couldn't tell him. I didn't. You did, Ajax stated flatly. But it doesn't make sense. Doesn't it? Your mate is in heat. You blow down my front door. You mark her without asking her permission first. Jesus. Ajax. Keiko shouted. It's true, sweetheart. That's exactly what he did. Ryder scraped a hand over his face, skin pale, mouth opening, but unable to find the words. George, he whispered after a moment. I wished so desperately that I could have smiled at him or even just nodded my head because that's all it would take from him to know it was all right. I had given my permission, even if he hadn't known it. I had allowed the moon goddess to bind us together in this way, but I could do nothing beyond staring at him blankly. Fuck. Oh God. Georgia, Ryder whispered, coming to me again, this time settling on his knees. Warm hands clasped mine and it was like I could taste his panic. Georgia, I'm so sorry. I never thought. I never would have. I'm sorry. Georgia, I'm so sorry. And there, standing behind the couch Ajax was sitting on, a small sparkle caught my eye, opening, broadening until it formed a rippling frame. The frame of the mirror that I had seen in the cabin with the clouds on the floor and stars etched into the ceiling. The mirror flickered and shimmered, but there she was. Her black eyes settled on me, her mouth pressed into a hard line, the constellations on her cheeks. A hand reached up as she pressed against the pane of glass on her side. She shook her head slowly, then disappeared. Ajax was stiff on the couch. Did you guys feel that? He asked no one in particular. Feel what? Keiko wondered, but King slumped back down. Nothing. It was nothing. Must be the last of this shit getting out my system. Connected indeed. Ryder was oblivious to all of this though. His body was weak as he shifted around, sitting down with his back against arm of the chair, facing away from me. His head tipped downwards, landing softly on one of my thighs as if he didn't have the strength to hold himself upright. A hand circled around my ankle as he left out Eddie's sigh. I didn't mean to, Ryder whispered. I would never. You did, Keiko pressed, but unlike her mate, she was able to convey some sympathy. But I don't understand. I know what I did. I know that I marked her, but it doesn't seem possible. She's gone into heat around me before and we had no issues. Sure, it was hard. It didn't compare to this time. And on top of that, heats are to push mating, which doesn't make sense because we've already mated. A heat can happen any time to mates fight their bond. Keiko corrected. She carefully arranged herself on the couch beside her partner, moving slowly as to not jostle him. And that makes sense because you two have been separated for some time now. Where did you go anyway? North, Ryder said absently. I've never heard of a heat stopping right after marking though. Unless the mark is rejected. He immediately went stiff again, whirling around. Silver eyes narrowed on the side of my throat. The mark is there ended as healing, which is normally a sign of acceptance. Right. Keiko nodded once. I think so. I've also never heard about a werewolf going into heat when they were. Like this. Ryder continued. I mean, we've never really heard of this before, but I don't think I've ever heard of a werewolf going into heat when their partner was hospital-bound or non. It's like the moon goddess disregarded her usual procedures. Do all-powerful beings have procedures? Ajax wondered. Or do they just operate on their own accord? I just want to know why she brought me back here. If I'm hurting her, I don't want to be around her, even if she is my mate. Keiko sighed, folding her slender legs beneath her. Maybe she just wants you to be together, even at the risk of making her worse. No one knows why the moon goddess does what she does. We can only make our own decisions off of it. And she has brought you here, back to the mate that you were running from. So what are you going to do? Ryder. There was a shaky breath against my knee, the hand around my ankle tight and ever so slightly, and it felt good. It felt right. Having those other men hoist me around the house, zip up jackets, move me through exercises. It had all made me want to rip off my own skin when I was in a state of numbness. And when I drifted away from reality, I chased him. I chased the mercury rush, the laughter that could lift the heaviest of clouds. Being away from her was beyond anything I could imagine. I knew it was for the best and still. It was painful. I just wanted to be with her. Chapter 60 to the dream state was relentless and impossible to ignore. I understood what the purple woman had tried to accomplish, but she was unsuccessful. The rest of them still held out a little bit of hope, though, in hushed whispers saying that I still might get better. If it took time to set in, it might take time to undo. But I knew that she had not felt a change. Whatever magic was in me was apparently here to stay. The one upside to the whole ordeal is that coming out of the dream state was a little easier now. I would laugh and dance with the man with silver eyes. My chest would feel lighter for a few moments. All would seem well. Then he would say my name. It was always desperately hollow. Or he would tell me he loved me, and I would hate the sound of it. One word would be all it would take for me to realize that his eyes weren't twinkling like they should have, or his mouth wasn't curling at the corners like I wished it would. But when I would come back, he would be there. Not a cheap figment. Rough fingers would brush my hair back away from my face. Lean muscles would flex when he lifted my bare body into or out of the bathtub. His voice would rumble through songs that I could vaguely recall. And with this bite, the mark, it was all more intense. When Ryder had first explained the mating process to me, I had been skeptical. How could a physical wound bond people? It was strange and unfounded to my human mind. But even if I couldn't fathom the reason behind it, I couldn't deny it now. If I was buried too deep in my foggy mind, I could feel it when he entered a room. It was like every word he spoke shimmered over my bones. Every smile melted glaciers within. I just wished it was enough to bring me back to myself. I hadn't realized how far gone I truly was until Ryder greeted me in the living room with a gentle kiss on my head. A paper to-go cup was put in front of me. I'm not sure if you're a pumpkin spice girl, or if you hate it with a passion, but 'tis the season, he explained, offering me a smile sweet it could rot teeth. I wanted to tell him that I would love anything he ever gifted me, from a phone charge cord to a gas station coffee. I couldn't even drag my mouth into a grin, but then I took in his words. Pumpkin spice. Fall. It was fall already. When I had fallen off my mountain bike and followed him in his wolf form. It had been early summer. I might very well be closer to Christmas than I was to Canada Day, and I hadn't even known. Hey, how was your day? The dark-haired girl, Keiko asked. She remained constant in my days, even now, but I saw much less of her counterpart. Now she was sitting on the floor of the living room where I resided most days with a foam princess crown upon her head. Her daughter was racing around the house with a hobby horse in hand. Good, thanks. But it was hollow to my ears, almost as bad as it was in my dreams. and I was the only one who caught the way his eyes drifted to a very expensive bottle of scotch that was perched on the counter. "You haven't been drinking again, have you?" she asked quietly. I watched his throat move as he swallowed hard. "The last time I drank, I was face down and passed out on your lawn. But Christ, do I want it now?" "Ryder, honey, I know this is hard," Keiko murmured. "Think about how far you've come." That was all it took to break a man today. He was pacing in an instant, in and out of my view over and over again. "This isn't hard, Keiko. This is impossible. Please, Ryder. There are so many reasons to stay sober. You can't undo everything that you've done. What has been done?" he thundered, when he caught little Clementine falter with her fake horse. He lowered his voice. "When you found me, I had nothing. I was a werewolf without a pack, without a family, without friends. I had no roots to speak of. And because of that, I was perfect for what you needed. I could travel from pack to pack and clean up messes that I didn't make, holding crying mothers and sons and tell them I understood how it felt, telling them it would get better while knowing that it never does. And even if I wanted to settle down here with you guys like Noah, I cowed and stomached it. Because I was out there, facing the world alone, getting more and more lost every day. Then I would see Ajax come home to you. I would watch you come back from meetings, frustrated, and get to spew everything onto him. I saw the suppers together, the game nights as a family, the phone calls to your parents on weekends, and it ripped my fucking heart out every time." Keiko West's eyes filled with tears. Some leaders might have chosen to blink them away and grip their strength instead. She allowed them to roll down her cheeks, a strength of its own kind. "Ryder, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you more. I just wanted to give you a safe place to come to. Somewhere you knew you were always welcome. I really was trying to shove my family life down your throat like that." "I know," a frustrated hiss, a repressed sigh from out of you as he continued to move. "You did everything you could, and I know that. I love you and Ajax for it. And as hard as it was, I still had hope. I had this idea that my mate would come along and I could bring what I needed into the world. She would be my rock. She would become my roots. And she did. Of course. Georgia did. I took one look at her and started thinking about what kind of house we would live in, if we would buy on the coast or in the countryside. He was out of my view, but I could feel the weight of his eyes on me. I wanted to tell him that I had been so flustered when I had first seen him. It felt like someone had crafted the perfect human for me and plunked them on a platter. I wouldn't have cared if he wanted to live on the highest peak of a windy mountain. I would have followed him anywhere. Even when I found out that she was a hunter, I still had hope. I thought that if the moon goddess had put us together, that we could figure it out. And look at where the hope has brought me. I marked my debilitated mate without her consent, and I only spend time around her because the idea of Ajax or Noah giving her baths makes me want to slaughter them." Keiko nodded her head slowly. "I can't say I understand, and I pray that I never have to know what you are going through. I just want you to know that she will always be taken care of, whether you chose to be here or not. If you can't, bear it. If it is too painful, I would be honored to take care of her on your behalf. Just please, don't give up. Not yet. We're trying our best." Ryder smoothed a hand down the side of my head, fingers gently catching the loose strands of hair. "I know you and the doctors are doing everything possible. Sometimes, our best just isn't good enough." Chapter 63. "Look at this bath bomb I found you," Ryder said from outside the tub. It had become our nightly ritual. He would carry me from my vegetation point on the couch to the bathroom and run a bath that was the perfect temperature for him. I preferred baths and showers that would melt my skin off, but I had no way of communicating that with him. He would hoist me in the tub once I was bare and settle me gently into the water. We would watch one of his bath bombs fizzle in the water together, this one a beautiful plum that had a wonderful lavender scent and enough glitter for a parade. He would let me soak for a while as he chatted about his day. Right now, it was mostly just small things for Keiko and Ajax. I didn't know if it was because he no longer felt able to complete his previous job or if he simply refused to leave the property because I was here. Once he would finish telling me about his day, he would gently dunk my head so my hair and scalp would get wet, then massage some shampoo in. Well, it was more of a scrub. Really. He didn't have the gentlest touch like the Queen did. With him it felt like it was more about efficiency than it was pampering. The conditioner and rinse were no different. But I was blind to the way that he was trying. Sometimes he had the Queen show him new ways to braid my hair or would grill her about products to use. He even took my skincare out of my rental and brought it over. He didn't do the process in the order I would have, but I always started my day with SPF on my skin and ended with a moisturizer. He tucked me into bed, plumping my pillow and silk pillowcase every night, then he would give me a chaste kiss goodnight. Tonight was different. I could see it in the hard lines of his face in the lamplight. Soothing fingers brushed over the scar on the side of my neck, which sent a pulse of electricity down my spine. But my body refused to respond to it. I didn't mean to. He whispered, like the quiet words could make the reality disappear. I swear to God, I barely remember any of it. I was in the woods. I was far away from here. I remember feeling the heat. I tried to get further away from you in the beginning. Then I owned a zen. It just got worse. I held and stopped. And then you were bleeding and... He swallowed hard, turning away. Georgia, I'm so sorry. If I had known, I wish that I never walked into that CAF. Fuck. Sometimes his voice got really quiet then and he cowled and stand looking at me. Eyes locked completely on the wall above the headboard. Sometimes, I wish that Keiko never found me after my parents were killed. I wish that I had just kept drinking and drinking. At the rate I was going, there's no way that I would make it long enough to be here. To have done this to you. The touch on his cheek was featherlight. He flinched as if he had been slapped. Frankly, I was so startled that it was my hand touching him, that I almost flinched too. Georgia. Tears trickled down his cheeks, cutting down his jawline before dripping onto his soft t-shirt. Mine. I rasped. And he was. He was mine with all of the scars on his fingers and arms. He was mine with his ugly tan lines for always wearing gloves on the mountain bike. He was mine with the scratchy stubble on his jawline and the terrible jokes. And I wanted every stumble. Every failure that he brought. It hurt me to think of him wasting away. Drinking the ache away in bars. But that was the man I loved. The idea of losing him. Even if it came with the freedom to move my body again. To speak my own words. It was brutal. Unbearable. I'm all yours, Georgia. I promise. And I promise that I'm going to stay sober and I'm going to take care of you. I wanted to stay with him. I wanted to tell him that he was doing everything perfect. And that I could respect his decision and understand if he needed to take a break. But the dreams were calling. She was there. The woman with glowing freckles and her marbles. I knew it wasn't really her. Just a ghost of what I knew. But I went to her anyway. Time passed without me knowing. A woman with a stethoscope was there. The dreams were there too. Nipping at me. Trying to grab hold of me so they could drag me back in. And now, I knew I needed to stay. Ajax, you're looking much better. The woman greeted. The king had a plastic tool set sprawled around him. The little girl with dark hair was using a replica of a drill on his knee, claiming he had loose bolts that needed to be tightened there. I'm feeling a lot, but you were right. It did take some time for the potion to work. The woman stiffened. It's not a potion. I didn't pick some flowers and mushrooms and cast a spell on them. I took samples and made educated decisions led by the results. It's a scientific potion. Then, because magic is most definitely involved in if you took it to a human doctor, they would think you are insane. Ajax countered, but I appreciate it. Very much so. I couldn't take another day of feeling like that. And you didn't notice any side effect. Nothing beyond what was already ripping through me. Good. I know that there is still a risk, but I think that we should try giving Georgia a small dose. Ajax sat up at that, using one hand to prop himself up on the rug. Clementine was entirely displeased with this, puffing loudly and crossing her arms. Ajax smoothed his free hand down her dark hair. So you think she was poisoned then? I think there is a chance. It's impossible to know for sure. The only reason we were able to trace anything was because we had the source there. It was undetectable in your bloodstream and showed no other physical signs. As it stands, Georgia is a perfectly healthy girl. So this is the only thing we really have to go on. The sound of the front door opening and closing made everyone still. I felt his presence like stepping into a heated building on a cold winter's day. The conversation dying as soon as I come into the room is never a good sign, Ryder said. It was like watching a movie. All of the action happening out of frame, and I could do nothing to camera. I wanted to crane my neck and shoot him a grin that would melt him into a puddle. Alas, I would have to settle for Ajax, who suddenly got a little pale and tenser. We need to talk. Ryder, the king sighed. Ajax explained his ordeal with the bake seeming to almost kill him. Ryder commented that he had been entirely unaware of this, but a simple glance was enough to remind him that, at the time, he hadn't given a single damn about his king. Ajax continued on, explaining that the doctor had found something odd in the baking, something that was similar to slow-acting poison. Magical, certainly, but not entirely werewolf. She had been able to ferment antidote, a liquid that could counteract the effect on werewolves. Someone tried to poison you. It seems a little quiet and sneaky for the werewolf hunters, considering they sent her in to shoot you. And how would someone even gain access to your personal fridge? You guys prepare all of your own food when you're here. Ajax sucked in a breath, scraping his hand through his hair. When we moved Georgia out of the assisted living complex, we cleaned out her fridge. We wanted to make it easier on the staff, even if it was going to be an entire mess for them one way or another. And some of that food ended up here. For a moment, there was nothing but heavy silence. I'm not understanding. Ajax, are you saying that she planned this somehow? Or are you implying that she was poisoning herself? We don't know where she got it from or if she made it herself. We have no idea. Ajax said carefully. I'm not here to imply anything. All I'm trying to tell you is that we might have a remedy for it. I consumed the elixir and have had no issues. She could be our first. Ryder took a few long strides, entering my frame of fingers flexed at his sides, and I wondered how many times in the past that he wanted to punch Ajax. Ryder, I said no. He snapped. I took it and I am completely fine. If I hadn't taken it, I might still be lying in bed and vomiting every time I tried to eat something. The redness started at his cheeks, spreading rapidly, and with each word, his volume rose. You have taken a medicine designed for werewolves. You are a werewolf. She is a human. A fucking human. Ajax. And whatever is in her now has led her to be like this. We can't just mix up some cocktail of spells, science, and magic and shove it down her throat. Human mates have died from far less experimental things. Ryder, this may be our only chance right now. No, he seethed. You've done enough. Boy, King. It was the first time that I had realized that Ajax was indeed visibly younger than Ryder. Most of the time, with a child nearby and a kingdom to run, it was easy to think of him as a man, but there was no denying that he was terribly young to be a mark. Somehow, he didn't even flinch at Ryder's lash. What would she want? He asked. Because this isn't about me or you, is it? It's about saving her, and maybe some others, until she can say or indicate what she wants. I'm not agreeing to it. I'm her partner, not her ruler. I do not understand the medical field in the slightest. Regardless if it's the human side or the werewolf side, I cannot ask her to take risks like this. Slowly, the redness began to recede. He stood deathly still in that room, looking rumpled and torn. But thousands of miles away, the CF sold cinnamon buns. He whispered to himself, as cafes often do. Ajax agreed. Ryder's chin ticked up. I'm going to busy for the next couple of days. I think someone knows me some answers. Chapter 64. I didn't recall seeing Ryder again for a while. though it was hard to trust my mind with these things still. I remembered the queen kneeling outside the bathtub humming under her breath while she washed me. I remembered the king moving my legs through gentle stretches, talking to me idly about things I didn't care enough about to focus on. Every night I was tucked into bed. Every morning, I was fed breakfast with a coffee, and I dreamed of my brother. I could see myself screaming at him, wailing and begging. I was drowning. The responsibilities were swirling around me, sucking me down further with every second. I didn't have much longer. I needed him, but his pretty little wife would adjust the lapels of his suit, smiling like he had given her the sun. Then, they would leave hand in hand, and I went down, 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 down. Is everything all right? Keiko asked from my bedroom door. She stood outside of the guest bedroom as if this was her own home. But it was her words that brought me to the world around me, not the one I so often drifted out to. The doctor was sitting on the bed beside me. Her hand was cradling mine. Gone was any trace of the scrubs she wore sometimes or the tools she carried with her. Her hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and her pale blue sweater had a horribly stretched neckline. Dark rings circled her eyes. Yes, everything is fine, the doctor assured with a casual shrug. I just wanted to check in with her. That's all. Keiko hovered for a moment longer, her teeth capturing her lower lip. I know that he is. She needs to make her own choice, but it's hard to see her like this. It would be harder to see her dead, knowing that you forced the pill down her throat. The doctor countered. She had a name. I knew she did, but I could never remember it. The queen took a low breath, then nodded once. Let me know if you need anything. I'll be downstairs with Clem until my conference call starts. The doctor waited for a few seconds before she straightened her shoulders, her posture perfect and stable. She turned her body towards me and gave my hand one squeeze. Georgia, I'm hoping that you're here with me right now. We need to talk. She studied me briefly, as if hoping for an encouraging nod before continuing on. I cannot and will not force you to take any medication, and I will be here to help support and take care of you no matter what you choose. I just know that Ryder is scared. H.E.S. terrified. Of course he is. H.E.S. your mate. But this is your decision to make. She began with telling me about the cinnamon bun and what was found within it. Beyond gooey, buttery goodness, I knew about the baked good. I had had several over my lifetime. Something was nagging at me though. Something was telling me that this was important, lacing with me farther back than I knew now. But she carried on, telling me about the strange compound in the dough, using words that I didn't understand and words that shouldn't have gone together like magic and carbohydrates. I know that this is all complicated, but bear with me. I made an elixir for Ajax to counteract the fragments of magic that were in the buns, whatever they were. Like I explained before, Compounda in the solution was designed to protect any own magic within him, any magic that his body generated itself. Compound B was designed to pull any of the magic that was not owned out. I won't lie to you. Ajax was violently ill while this process was happening, but I am certain that he would have remained ill otherwise. Similar to you, I am assuming there would be the initial deterioration and he not taken the medication. He would still be on the couch, not getting worse, but not getting better. She reached out and tightened her sagging ponytail before taking my hand again. This all must be a confusing info dump for you, but I will try and keep it simple. You are obviously not a werewolf. We are assuming that you have the same toxin in your body, but we have no way of knowing for sure. I cannot make any assumptions about what this will or will not do for you. There are too many differences between your case and Ajax's case for me to even have the smallest idea of what might happen if you were to take this. And am not a human doctor. Even if I was, I wouldn't be able to understand how this magic works in your body. But I just wanted to tell you that this is an option for you, if you are willing to try it. I cannot promise a single damn thing, but I can't imagine what it must be like being trapped in that head. This is the only glimmer of hope that I can give you right now. Her fingers tightened around mine before she laid her palm flat open, my fingers resting within the center of her hand. You don't have to answer right now, and I'm not even sure if you can answer right now. But if you would like to try the elixir that I made for Ajax, I want you to tap your middle finger once in my palm. And if you don't want it, tap your index finger. And if you can't move right now, don't worry. I will not give you anything. She sat perfectly still, her hand not even trembling or shaking beneath mine. At least, I didn't think it was. I probably should have thought about this. I probably should have considered the risks for longer than I did because I could very well die from this. We had seen what a small amount of magic had done to me wherever it came from. What would a larger quantity do? Even if it healed me, what would happen after? How much of me would be left? Was I too far gone already? But all I really could think was that there was a way out, and that if I didn't answer now, I might not have the chance again. I focused every ounce of my brain power into my motor function, and with every ounce of focus came 10 pounds of dreaming that tugged and tugged at my mind. I was alone in the woods. No, this was wrong. This was all terribly wrong. I was never alone here. I was never supposed to be alone here. I started running, but it felt like my feet were made out of cement. Each step took enough effort to make me grit my teeth. But even when I took 10 steps, 20, 30, the forest around me did not change, because it never changed. This is the forest where I saw the wolf with the red eyes. This was the forest where I danced with the handsome man. His smile could melt my heart into a puddle on this mossy floor. But where was he? Where was the vengeful wolf? Where was my brother? I screamed. I ran and screamed. I jerked back into my body. And the first thing that I saw did make me want to scream. A low-roofed, oversized garden shed. I couldn't remember it, but the reaction that I immediately had told me otherwise. I wanted to wail and shriek and squirm my way out of the thick arms that were carrying me. My steps couldn't move me through the forest of my dreams, but these steps were pulling me closer and closer to the shed no matter how much I resisted. I was shifted around in the strong arms, being moved about like I weighed nothing. As I was shuffled, I caught a glimpse of brown hair that burned like fire in the sun. Ajax. Then, the shed door swung open and I called into Carabout, who was holding me. "What are you doing here?" Ryder rumbled immediately. He spun to face us and his gaze caught mine. But even the eyes that I loved so much were not enough to distract me from the way that he swiped his hand over the thigh of his jeans. A rust-colored streak was left behind. "She asked to see you." Well, she said your name. It's not like she's particularly chatty, so when she gives me anything to go off of, I'm not going to deny her," Ajax replied flatly. I was shuffled around in his arms once more as he snapped open a camping chair with one hand. "I don't want her here. I don't want her to see this," Ryder stated. "I don't care if you want her to see this side of you or not," she asked. I delivered. The king argued as he settled me on the chair. "Ajax, are you even getting anywhere?" No, HES saying he'd osn't know anything. And that was when I realized that there was a third person in the shed. Icy blue eyes now ringed in black. A busted lip that I had seldom seen smile. Lean pale arms pulled behind his back. Strung up in a way that made my body ache with knowing. Milo. Chapter 65. When Ajax left, Ryder opted to pull up a chair beside me. He didn't reach out for me, but I was still able to see the swelling around his knuckles, some of them cracked and bleeding, and I could see the little knife sitting on a reel of wire, looking mercifully clean. But the smell was the same in here. The feel of the air on my skin was enough to make me want to be sick. I knew this place so well, even if my mind wouldn't trick all how. "You're lucky that she's here," Ryder rumbled, his voice a dangerous timbre I had never heard before. "I'm not about to believe any of this bullshit about you not knowing what's really going on." Milo limply swayed from the ropes. His head was dangling forward, but I could see the occasional drop of something that splattered red over the cement floor. He let out a hacking cough before he lifted his head, moving as if his bones were made of concrete. I wanted to gasp in horror all over again. Blood streaming out of a clearly broken nose. eyes so swollen they could hardly open, teeth coated in blood when he grimaced. And you are so unlucky that Shess here. Now she gets to see you like you for what you really are, coward. Strong words for someone who looked like a summer's breeze would kill him. Ryder snorted from beside me, but I caught the way that his hand twitched. Right. In the coward. You're either one hiding behind all your little hunters, perching in trees so I can wait for a werewolf to stroll by and shoot them when they aren't looking. This isn't about hunting, Milo corrected. His legs gave out from under him, his arms jerking hard behind his back. A strangled noise left his mouth before he could right himself again. This is about her. It's about Georgia. Leave her out of this. Ryder snarled. Shess already in this. You idiot. My gaze followed the lines of Milo's body. With every angle I took in, I felt more and more ill. I could feel the phantom pain spinning up my arms, squeezing between my shoulder blades. I didn't know how long he had been like this, but I knew that even 2 seconds was too long. His legs must have been screaming for a break, but if his knees buckled even an inch, his arms were jerked behind him hard enough to make him dizzy. But the pain and discomfort that must have been ripping through him was enough to keep him quiet. You are pathetic, and you are afraid, no matter what you say. You can look me in the face and tell me that you're doing this for her, but we both know that it's not true, because you dumped her on my driveway. And where did you go? I left to keep her safe. You left her because you were fucking scared. If you cared about keeping her safe, you would have left her as soon as you understood a single thing about Werewolf Drain. I didn't want her to get worse. We thought that she would be safe since we are mates. You left her alone, Ryder. And you didn't go off to research labs. You didn't spend your nights in a library trying to find answers. Did you? I'm not going to argue with you, Ryder hissed. I went through something awful. I won't apologize for how I acted through it. You don't understand because you're a human and you don't want a mate. But when I lost her, I lost everything, right? Of course. So it's completely fine that you left Georgia, your mate, on my driveway. She lost everything too. You fucking Luke. And when she was able to speak for herself, you turned around and ran into the woods to lick your wounds. I fed her every day. I bathed her. I brushed her hair and her teeth and washed her face. I was the one who took her to her parents' funeral. And when the staff at the care facility reported her missing, I turned over every rock that I could to find her, until I figured that she was here, with the very people who have hurt her in the first place. You shut your fucking mouth. Leaping to his feet, his fingers snatched up a small, clean knife from the top of the reel. Or what? Milo screamed back. Cut me up like you keep threatening to. It won't change what you have done to her. It won't fix the fact that you hid when she needed you most. But if it makes you feel better, go ahead. Tell me what was in the fucking food from that place or I'm just going to kill you. The knife glimmered in his hand as he twirled it, looking almost casual with the gesture. I'm done playing your games. I was lying to you. I told you that I haven't talked to Dawn or Armin in months. Dawn reached out to me before you two left for the Yukon. She wanted to talk to Georgia, so I gave Georgia her number. That was the end of it. You cutting into me isn't going to change the truth. Georgia would have told me if anything like that happened. The blade stayed as side, but his grip remained tight. Would she? Because when I asked to see the guest list at the care facility, Dawn's name was on there the same day and the same time that Georgia signed in. Maybe your little mate had her own secrets. A cruel grin twisted up his features, revealing the blood-coated teeth again. I would tell you to ask her yourself, but you've ruined her, so badly shut your fucking mouth. Ryder roared, the blade in his hand raising to Milo's throat. Down. It took me a moment to realize that I had spoken, and I might not have even noticed if both men hadn't still. Ryder whirling around to face me. Down. He repeated, Milo entirely forgotten. Christ. I seldom was able to get responses outwards on something that could be misinterpreted. He needed more if he was to understand what I wanted, and I knew that I only had a short amount of time before Milo started badgering him again. And if Milo was at the end of his rope like I had been, He would push Ryder until a blade across the throat was guaranteed. I croaked. Georgia. He stepped towards me on wobbly legs, slowly sinking down to his knees. Sweetheart, can you hear me? Of course. I could hear him, but he was listening to me. She told you to untie me, Milo said hotly. But how? His hands gently settling on top of my thighs. The knife had been set aside. With her fucking words. Now let me down. I don't understand. I've never heard of her saying more than a word a day. If she spoke to Ajax already. The little knife was used to cut down Milo, who immediately slumped to the ground with a dull thump. I wanted to rush to him and ask him if he was okay. Maybe get him some water and some food because that was what I had needed then. But I was swept up into Ryder's strong arms that felt much safer and more comfortable than Ajax's, and we were off to the main home. I was settled on the armchair that I spent so many days on. Ryder kneeling in front of me again. How many times would this man go to his knees for me? George, can you talk to me? What's going on? Ajax asked from the top of the stairs, judging by the foam sword in his hand and his daughter with a bucket upon her head. They were doing some very important work. Georgia was talking. More than usual. Ajax paused for a moment then. Would you mind playing in your room by yourself for a little while? My little orange, he asked Clementine, when his daughter nodded eagerly. The king descended the natural wood stairs. Perfect. It seems like the medication is finally working then. We were worried that she was showing any signs after 3 days. What medication? Ryder asked. Then the realization slapped him. Hard. Fuck. You guys didn't give her that mixture without her say-so. Did you? As if you haven't done enough. She said she wanted it. How can she say? Ryder cut himself off. His eyes widened for a second. A bruised and swollen hand laying on his chest. A shuddering breath left him. Ryder, are you okay? Ajax breathed. My lips parted. I had taken the elixir. I was saying more words. It was working. It had to be. I could tell them what I needed. Tell them that Milo had no part in any of this. But as pain ripped through me, the only thing that left my mouth was a blood-curdling scream. Chapter 66. I couldn't figure out where the pain was coming from. It was everywhere and nowhere. But every time I searched my body for the starting point, it seemed vague and blurred. Everything was on fire. Everything was freezing. Everything was screaming. Maybe I just couldn't think that hard right now. All I knew was that I was still wailing and the agony was beyond anything I could comprehend. Black dots danced over my vision. Georgia. Ryder cried. He was here. I had almost forgotten about him. I had almost forgotten everything in the face of the hurt tearing me apart. But he was in front of me, one hand still gripping at his chest, the other reaching towards me. Georgia. Vampire Deception. By Drake Mason and Eli Dredd. By the undocumented changeling, and forced to code as a low-level witch. It was Ajax rushing to his side. An arm was thrown around him just as Ryder's legs released beneath him. He would have tumbled to the floor if Ajax hadn't been there to catch him. Ryder, what's going on? Can you tell me what you're feeling? Ryder just groaned out my name. His eyes were now jammed shut and he teetered onto all fours. A violent noise crawled out of his throat. Ryder, please, talk to me. Ajax begged. Did that hunter do something to you? Keiko plowed through the front door a second later. Her dark hair was strewn all over her face, mouth falling open at the scene in front of her. A girl screaming in her living room. Her mate holding on to Ryder, who could only say my name. What is going? I don't know. Call Claudette. Tell her to get here as fast as she can. Keiko vanished, and I was pulled back into the dreams that haunted me. I was still screaming here. This was a place I had come to when the world felt like it was too much. This is what I felt until when I couldn't bear it any longer. There shouldn't have been pain here. Only numbness and a man who wanted to hold me, even though his eyes didn't twinkle the way I needed them to. He was here. "You're leaving me," he accused. Venom was in every word that was spat from his lips, its tongue as if it really were acid on my skin. "No," I managed. "I'm not leaving you. I'm going back to you. The real you," I pleaded. Tears were gushing down my cheeks. I felt like my entire body had been plunged into boiling water, then right over the hot coals of an ancient fire. Relief. I needed relief however it came. Even unconsciousness would be a blessing. "Don't you understand what you have done? Don't you know what you have sacrificed?" "I haven't sacrificed anything," I protested. "Oh, but you have," he murmured. Thumb traced the shape of my jawline. "You have given up everything." When he drew away, I spotted the knife in his hand. I was shrieking well before he raised it to his own throat. Then there was nothing but blood. "Georgia," Ryder croaked. He was in front of me, still on all fours, still had Ajax at his side. No blood. There was no blood here. It had all been a dream. He was still alive. "Fuck, what is that?" Ajax whispered, gawking at me. It was then that I realized a redness was circling me. It was alive and shifting, flames lapping and falling. It was sheer for me and clear enough that I could see the men in front of me entered the house, her cell phone still clutched in her hand. They all rippled as if they were a mirage. Maybe this was the final stage of wolf drain. Maybe this is how my parents died. In so much pain that the end would be a blessing. Ryder gave out a strangled sob, his back straining as he moved, one hand in front of the other, one knee sliding on carpet. Georgia. It had always been so lovely when he said my name. A balm over a wound. Now it was gasoline on the fire, salt in a gaping wound that was sure to kill me. Ryder reached out a single hand. I watched his entire body tremble with the effort, sweat beading on his forehead. He leaned forward, looking like he was on the brink of collapse. Fingers touched the shimmering redness before me. He only had time to let out a startled bark before he was thrown across the room. I wailed. The tears streaming down my cheeks were bleach, tearing through my skin. Each sound out my mouth was corrosive, shredding my throat. My tongue. What the hell was that? Keiko screamed. "Just stay over there, sweetheart," Ajax commanded, steady as he went to Ryder's curled up form. Ryder, are you okay? Can you hear me?" The redness around me gave a final shake. Then it fell. My screaming ceased immediately, but my body pitched forward with exhaustion. My clammy forehead rested on my knees, each breath cooling the scorching from within. Every part of me was shaking. Every part of me was too cold and too hot at once. Ryder. I had done something to him. "Georgia," he moaned, his head lifting from the floor. I thrust my body off the chair, falling flat on my stomach. I only let out a little wheeze in acknowledgement. My fingers clawed the hardwood flooring for purchase. "Ryder, oh my God." "Just moving by herself," Keiko gasped. She was at my side in an instant despite Ajax's repeated protests. Her hands were on my shoulders. She pulled me away from my pursuit gently but firmly until I was on my knees, looking at her worried face. "Georgia, are you okay? Can you talk?" "Honey, Ryder," I choked, my throat raw. "Ryder is right there. Claudette is coming. She'll make sure both of you are okay. All right? For now. I just want you to talk to me. Tell me what happened. What are you feeling?" She moved as if she were about to help me to my feet, then stopped. "Are you feeling like you can stand?" I couldn't feel anything right now aside from a whirling in my head and the rough pants in my lungs. I just needed to get to Ryder. Whatever I had done to him needed to be fixed. I focused on Ryder, and it was like seeing him for the first time. A scar on his cheek that I had never noticed. Traces of acne from his teen years. Eyes that seemed less alive than before. A nose that was crooked from one too many breaks. Head that didn't seem to lay quite right. Something was wrong. I knew it before I saw the way he looked at me. I whined with horror, tears welling in them. No, he whispered. No, please. It was like an axe was swinging towards him and he was powerless to stop it. You're all right, my friend. We're going to get you taken care of, Ajax assured, squeezing Ryder's bicep. Ajax, what if Keiko's cool fingers brushed the side of my throat? A gasp choked her. Ajax, she doesn't have a mark anymore. A rough through Ryder. The mate bond has been destroyed. Chapter 67, and nothing happened for a while. The words seemed frozen aside from minor movements. Keiko gasped and stumbled backwards. Ajax was there to hold her immediately, an arm around her waist, the other over her chest. Ryder stayed on his knees, just staring. Something in his expression kept me from going to him. He watched me. I watched him. His face was pale with horror and the aftermath of pain. I could feel tears slipping off my jaw. It's going to be all right, Keiko whispered. Then again, stronger. You are going to be all right. The bond is gone. We can fix this. We can get through this. We always do, Keiko rambled. There was a certain intensity to her now. Her lips were set into a hard line, gears in her mind grinding. Ajax stroked a hand down her arm. Her lower lip quivered then. The crack. Claudette, the sweet doctor who had been taking care of me all this time, materialized in the house. Much like Keiko, she had a strong, determined energy. There was no room for franticness or rushed ideas. What happened? She demanded. The fucking medication you gave Keiko swept in, cutting Ryder off. The mate bond has been destroyed. Georgia is able to move and talk again, but it came with the loss. Ryder, are you feeling ill? Is anything hurting you right now? Ajax asked. I watched the man with dark hair straighten a little. His hand settled over his heart, rubbing a vacant spot. He was different now. So different. I felt like I couldn't even be sure that it was Ryder. No, I don't think him sick or anything. Not physically. Whatever happened, whatever was hurting me, has passed, I think. Then let's start with Georgia. Claudette suggested. And we can do that by getting you off the floor and somewhere comfortable. Ajax, can you carry her up to her bedroom, please? Keiko, I want you to stay here with Ryder. Get him some water. See if he can keep it down. Yell if anything changes. But I'll come and look at him as soon as I'm done with Georgia. I can walk myself, I said immediately. To prove my point. I pulled myself onto my knees, one movement at a time. I could do this. I was a werewolf hunter, for God's sake. I could climb trees, hike for hours, sprint until my lungs gave out. I pushed myself to my feet. I could feel each muscle strain under the pressure, feeling almost gritty from lack of use. There was a slight wobble, but I remained standing. Her sets of eyes watched me closely. I can do it. Claudette led the way, striding purposefully. I trickled behind. My teeth clenched hard. My thighs quivered beneath my weight. My calves screaming with every step. This wasn't possible. That was not who I had become. It was not who I was meant to be. My hand grabbed the railing of the stairs that suddenly seemed much longer and much higher than I ever remembered. I took my first step, then my second. It was on the third step that my legs buckled. My body screamed 1,000 reaction protocols at me. My body was too sluggish to respond. But Ajax was there, just a step behind. His quick reaction saved my knees from the hard wood. Both arms were tied around my body, holding me up for a brief second before he swept me off my feet. I let out a strangled noise of surprise, but otherwise stayed still. Thanks for not putting up a fight, he stage whispered. It would have hurt my fragile masculinity. I would have laughed if I could have. Claudette had me settled on my bed, the bed I was borrowing from Keiko in a house that was not my own, and ran me through a series of tests. She shone a light in my eyes. She listened to my heart rate and guided me through a series of motions. She asked me questions about my memory. I recalled little, which seemed to displease her. She asked me about my pain levels, if I felt dizzy or nauseous. What had it felt like when the bond was removed? What had Ryder done? Did I feel like there was anything left in me? Was I still fighting to stay alert? I answered everything as honestly as I could. I wished she was a human doctor. I wanted to be hooked up to machines. I wanted her to see all of the things I couldn't tell her, all the things I didn't know about. I wanted the certainty of modern medicine, though she was doing her best. I knew that her education and skill had limits when it came to my situation. Then again, so would a human doctor. Do you think that this could have affected my vision? Like, do werewolves have bad eyesight or something? I asked. She paused for a moment. Wolves are known to have excellent eyesight. Why do you ask? Well, some things look different now. Clearer, like Ive put on glasses. Like the details on this lamp. Claudette asked. I glanced at the lamp. The painting on the base seemed to be hand-painted and traditionally Chinese. I had never noticed it before, but I still shook my head. Like you can read the title of those books now, that you couldn't before, she suggested, gesturing to the small shelf of children's books at the far end of the room. I shook my head again. It's people. Well, it's a person, I clarified. Ah, you're seeing flaws on Ryder. I wouldn't have called them flaws myself, they were just things that made him human, but I still nodded. That's the mate bond being gone. That red thing that came out of you. That was the magic leaving your body. Even though you aren't a werewolf yourself. The moon goddess put a little bit of magic in you when she bonded you to Ryder. Now that it's gone, you see him like the rest of us duo. It felt like a heavy rock had been tied to my heart, pulling it down, 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 deep below sea level. I didn't want to see him like everyone else. Not when I saw him as a god before. Claudette sensed that I was done, that my spiraling had begun. Listen, take some time and do what is best for you. You've been through a lot. Too much. We will all respect any choice you make right now. Okay? The only thing I want to advise you on is that you shouldn't be alone. Your body is weak and tired. Your strength will come back, but it needs time. If you have a fall when you're alone, it could be too much. I swallowed hard. Right. My body was completely useless. The thing that I had trained into a weapon was now pathetic and flimsy. It'll make sure I have someone. Listen, Ryder was trying to get some answers out of someone in the shed. I know you aren't a human doctor, but would you mind having a look at him? I think he might be in rough shape. He will probably want to get the hell out of here as soon as he can. But can you tell me HES okay when you're done? Of course. Georgia. Anything you need, she assured. You take some time now and rest up, but I want you to call someone for help. Those stairs won't be so friendly on the way down. I laid in that bed for hours. A bed that I had laid in hundreds of nights before, but Cal didn't really remember. A bed that still didn't feel like mine. Ajax had carried me up and down those stairs dozens of times. Keiko had washed my hair and scrubbed my body in all of her luxurious product. I had spent hours in front of television with their daughter, but none of this felt like mine. None of this was something I wanted to lay claim to. And then there was Ryder. At the thought of him, I heard his screams ringing in my ears. I saw him dragging himself towards me, and I saw the sickness that came after when he realized what had happened. No longer mates. We weren't tied together. No draw between us. Just a people.